Welcome to today's episode of Arise and Be Fit. Have you ever experienced the excitement and anticipation of that door of opportunity opening up? To only get to the point where you realize that door is not going to open. Today, I've invited my friend Jackie to discuss how do we respond when things don't turn out the way we've hoped for. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Arise and Be Fit in Hope in the Midst of Disappointment. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this New Year session of Arise and Be Fit. Today I have one of my best friends, Jackie. We're going to talk about disappointment. I know everybody has pumped up the new year and everybody's excited about what the new year will bring, but I also know that there are some people who have experienced disappointment in 2019 and is walking in this new year with a lot of questions. And I believe that this is a good show to start off with how do we handle disappointment, especially as believers. What do we do when a door that we expected to open or a test we expected to pass or something that we've hoped for doesn't manifest itself in the way that we expect it to. So Jackie has walked through this. I have, but her story is amazing. And I hope that you're able to tune in and learn and glean something. And we hope that this gives you some oomph, some encouragement to walk into this new year with a different perspective on disappointment. And it may just be gearing you up for a moment where you may feel that way. And then now you already have the tools on how to continue to walk forward and have a successful year. So welcome, Jackie.
Thank you, Laura.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. So my name is Jackie, just like she said. I'm 35 years old, almost in March at least. I came to the United States when I was 17 years old, and I remember praying to God one day because my mom told me, I'm going to bring you to the United States. And at that moment in my life, I was like, okay. So I started praying from that moment. I was like 13, 14 years old. And the one thing I would always ask God was like, if this is your plan, show us. Make it possible so that we know that this is you. We didn't want something that would be just from us. If, everything had to come up perfectly to know that it was God's plan.
Yes.
Anyway, so everything came out perfectly. We were able to go to the U.S. Embassy in Honduras. That's where I am from. And I remember that one guy telling me, welcome to the United States of America. And that's exactly when my heart went like, this is all you. I know you did it, because otherwise it would have never been this way.
Right.
And when I came here, I faced so many challenges. And the biggest one of them was leaving my family behind. Never ever had left my dad before because we grew up with him. And he would stay in Honduras because my mom and him divorced when I was 10. So I knew that it was going to be very challenging, but I was at the same time very excited about what God was going to do with my life in a different country with different family. So I remember that one day when my mom said, okay, you're going to high school now. And it was like 2 or 3 days after coming from Honduras for the first time.
Wow,
Can you imagine?
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
It was very hard. I remember being in the middle of this hallway when the bell rang and everybody coming out of their classrooms and trying to go to their next classroom, and me in the middle, like, where do I go?
Oh my
what
gosh.
do I do? And not even knowing how to ask for help. It was very challenging. But as always, I kept my faith in God, and I would pray, and I was like, okay, please, I need somebody to help me. And God was always, and He would always send somebody to help me out.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I made it through high school. I remember that I committed myself to learn English as soon as possible.
Mm.
And God allowed me to learn English in about 6 months.
Wow, that's impressive.
At that time, we didn't have the technology that we have nowadays.
Yeah.
I had a big dictionary, and I remember that every homework I had, I would bring home. I would sit at the table and just started translating every single word from English to Spanish, so that then I could understand what the question was. Then I would sit down and start writing all my ideas in Spanish, and then I would translate that into English with a dictionary. And then the next day, I would come to school and thank God for some of the teachers that He provided for me. They were such amazing people. I would be like, could you please help me? I translated my homework, but I don't know if it's right. And they were like, oh yeah, no problem. So they would just write it all in red. This is wrong, and it was mostly all the page.
Oh my gosh.
But I knew this time it was right.
Yeah.
So that excited me, and that's how I turned in my homeworks. And I was able to graduate from high school. I did not have any honors or anything like that, but just the fact that I was getting that high school diploma was a big excitement for me. Then I remember one time praying to God, I want to do something for you. Like, you've done so much for me. Help me. Where is it that you want to take me? Where should I invest my life in? Because in life, any job you do right now is not just a job, it's an investment you're doing, not only in your own life, but in others people's life. And that's how I saw it.
Yeah, that's good.
So I remember praying in the living room one day, and I had the TV on, and I asked God, what is that you want me to do? In what area you want me to serve you? And then there was this commercial about, it was something like a World Visions commercial where you see these kiddos needing water or just needing some health help. And I said, I want to go there. Like, I want you to take me there, God, because I felt it in my heart that that's where my calling was. So then my dreams started flowing, and I wanted to be a nurse then because of that commercial. And ever since, and that was in 2004 that I started working on this, I started trying to become a registered nurse. And I never stopped until, then I had some very, difficulties in life, a lot of challenges besides not just knowing English as very fluently like I should have known it. It was a lot of things that kept me from reaching my purpose immediately at that time. I decided to become a medical assistant back in 2008 because I felt like I was never going to reach my goal to becoming a registered nurse. So I said, if I go this way, I know I'm going to be in the medical field and I'm going to learn something, and at the same time I have the ability to serve others in the medical world. So I got that diploma and got my certification, and I enjoyed it. Working as a medical assistant, I got to work in every specialty clinic, from surgery to neurology to CAS clinic, endocrinology, oncology. Like, I just had a taste of everything.
That's awesome.
It was really awesome. I felt like that was God opening that door for me, because I had no idea where exactly I wanted to go, but I knew that God had taken me there so that I could see exactly where He wanted me to be.
Interesting.
So then I went to LVN school. God opened that door for me. And I remember taking that first exam that you need to take to be a LVN, and I remember praying to God before taking the test, if this is you, you're gonna do it.
Yes, every time.
Yes. So I took the test. Honestly, I had no idea what I was answering. The questions were so hard for me. I had no idea what was the right answer.
Yeah.
But I passed it. Guess how I did it? It was not me. He did it for me.
That's awesome.
I would have never been able to pass that test on my own. Seriously. So as an LVN, I had this chance to work in an assisted living community with older people, and I loved it. I love every single one of them. I love the families, and I love my coworkers. It was just a different environment, a very new environment for me. And I kept thinking, this is not where I want to end up. This is not it for me. And I kept praying to God, I know that you can help me through this. I know that you can keep opening doors for me. So whenever you're ready, just know that I am ready.
Yes.
I was like, God, if you open, you know I'm going to.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting on you.
Yes.
And I waited, and I remember this one friend telling me, hey, there's this college in San Antonio that I want to invite you to come with me, and let's just check it out. And I was like, San Antonio, that's 1 hour away from here, and it's very challenging, so let me just think about it. And then she kept encouraging me to go to San Antonio, and finally I said, okay, let's go. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
So we went, and we both fell in love with the college and the program to become a registered nurse. And I was like, God, once again, if this is the way you want to lead me to open that door. Because we did have to take an entrance exam as well. And it was not an easy one. And like I said, my English has been like a lot of my limitations for schooling purposes. And but I trust God, and I knew that if it was His will, He would open that door. Anyway, so God opened that door. I passed that test, and I was able to enter into the program. Well, everything was fine. I was excited. I was like, finally, I'm seeing my dream come true. I'm almost done. I'm gonna be a registered nurse soon, and very, very advanced into the program, there is a class called Advanced Med-Surg, and it's a very, very challenging class, not only because of all the information that you have to know, it's a lot of critical care, like the emergency department, ICU department, and I love the medicine world and everything in it, but this class was a little bit more than what I expected. And I have this confidence in myself sometimes, not because I'm too confident in myself, but because I know that God is with me, that I think I was too confident again. I was too, I guess, I could have put more effort into it than what
that makes sense.
Than what I did, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I ended up failing the class by 0.5. I ended up with a 73.5, and at that moment, I cried, I felt disappointed, and I started crying. I started praying to God and saying, if this is your will, let it be your will. I do not know why I had to fail this class, but I know that something good I'm going to learn from this. It was not in my plans.
Yeah, right. It's never in your plans, right?
Failing is not in your plans.
Right.
I was one class away from finishing the program. And God said, it's not going to happen this time.
Wow.
So I had to sit back for a moment and think, what happened? Why, if I knew that this door was opened by you, let me tell you that I trust that so much. Otherwise, I would have not started this program.
Right.
Why did I fail?
Yeah.
Isn't it God's will that what we start, we finish?
Yeah, right.
Because the Bible
That's what the Bible tells us, yeah.
That what He started
He
in
will
you,
finish. He will finish that
finish.
work. Yes, most definitely.
So I was just having a conflict between why was I going through that if God knew my heart and He knew how much I wanted this. But you know what? It just showed me that it shows how sometimes even in the good times as well as in the bad times.
Yes.
What kind of faith you will still, have at the end.
Yeah.
So I decided, because this is a decision you have to make yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you keep trusting God? Do you get up and continue? Do you give up on your dream? Like, it was so hard that most people would not want to do it again. And
Right.
at some point, I was like, what do I do? Do I just give up?
Yeah. All right. That's awesome. I mean, just to kind of share how the disappointment, and the feeling, and even the question, do I keep moving forward? Do I quit? So what made you get up? What made you start again after you failed the course?
I remember thinking for a moment, this is not where God wants me to finish. God is not done with me yet.
Yeah.
So I remember telling myself, what if 5 years from now, are you going to be happy where you're going to be at if you don't finish right now? I knew the answer.
Yeah.
I knew that I was not going to be happy. And more importantly, I would feel that I failed God.
Yeah. Wow.
Seriously, like, I really thought that by not finishing what I had started would make me fail God. Because He created me for so much more.
That's good.
And this was not it.
That's awesome.
This is not the Jackie that He created.
That's awesome.
He created a Jackie that always thought that everything was possible if I believed. And I believed that I could do it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
a 0.5 was not going to make me stay behind or just keep me from reaching my final goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's important. That's a powerful statement. Just to know that we are created for more. Men and women alike, there's a purpose. And that's why it's so important for us not to give up. When there's a detour or a surprise, it's shocking when you're in that moment, but you have to keep moving forward. So what did you learn about that situation? What did you feel like you took from experiencing that?
I learned that in our walking in Christ, we're gonna fail, we're gonna stumble, we're gonna be the worst at times. But even so, God's love and support towards us is amazing, because after that I was able to meet with other classmates who not only needed a little bit of encouragement, but they needed God.
Yeah.
And I was able to connect with them, and I was able to encourage them and help them how not to fail like I had failed. And it was a group of 3 of us, and the 3 of us made it to the final class.
That's awesome.
Which made me feel like, God, if there were the reason why you kept me behind, I would do it again.
That's awesome.
Because I'm not doing this for me, Lord.
Right.
This is a desire that God put in my heart a long time ago. And like I said, if I don't finish it, I'll be failing Him.
Yeah. Wow.
So I learned that everything that happens in your life has a reason. And sometimes it's not the reason that we want to happen.
Yeah.
But it is God's reason. And that's all that matters.
Awesome. And you realize that it's not just about you.
It's not about me.
So it's important for us to, in the midst of that situation, look around. Maybe there's somebody that God is wanting you to connect with and minister to, just as He did in your situation and story.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So how do you think this will influence others? How do you think this, your story, your experience with disappointment, how do you think that'll influence others?
I believe that when you look at me, if there's something that I would like people to learn from my experiences, is that I never gave up.
Yeah.
It does not matter how hard it is or how many times I have to get down or fall down.
Yeah.
I will get up.
Yes.
Because it is not about me.
Yeah.
And when you have that very straightforward in your mind,
Yes.
it does not matter how your world is turned around, you are going to finish.
Yes.
You are going to make it, not in your timing, but you are going to make it. So if there's something that I want people to learn from me, it's not to give up.
Yes.
To keep trusting God.
Yes.
To keep believing that what He started in you, He's going to finish.
Most definitely. So we can't give up.
We cannot.
We can't give up. One thing, I was listening to one of Steve Harvey videos, and one of the best statements he said that goes with what you're saying is, it's a definite that our dreams won't be realized if we give up. We know that if we definitely stop, it won't happen. So the only way to know and walk in that and fulfill that purpose that God has in your life, it's up to us to keep moving.
Right.
And just tap in and be like, okay, God, what am I supposed to learn? Who am I supposed to grab along with me in the journey, just as you did?
Right.
But we can't give up. So now that you know, you've learned some things, we've learned a little bit about how to perceive that situation a little different. What are you up to? What are you going to do now? Like, what is your next steps?
Okay, so I am very excited about 2020 because even though I'm still working on my final goal, which is to be a registered nurse, I know that once I finish, there's going to be so many people I'm going to be able to help.
Yes.
Like I said before, working in the different clinic settings and in the different departments of the healthcare system, I fell in love with working with patients with cancer. I feel like that's my calling, like helping someone that was diagnosed with that terrible diagnosis.
Yeah.
It's what God wants me really, because I can encourage others. I cannot heal them.
Yeah.
I know that I know the healer of the healers.
Right.
And I know that I can pray for them and
Right.
I can give them some hope.
Yes.
Because that's what God
Yes.
is. Jesus is hope.
Yes, that's good.
So that's where I want to be.
That's awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited to see you in that element. I'm so
Yes.
excited. So who has been an inspiration in your life?
So my biggest inspiration has been my dad. My dad, yes. So I'm the oldest one of 6. It is 6 of us.
Wow.
And my dad, he always supported me. He always believed in me. And everything I do is like, this is because of you.
Yeah.
So he's been a great inspiration.
That's
Other
awesome.
than, I know he's always praying for us as well. So that he inspires me.
That's amazing. So where do you see yourself at the end of 2020?
All right, so at the end of 2020, I see myself working in a oncology unit.
Yes, yes.
And then I also see myself buying my dream house and spending time with my family that, of course, I have
with nursing school.
neglected for a long time with nursing school.
With nursing school,
Yes.
most definitely. Most definitely. Wow. So what would you like the audience to know? Any encouragement, any last words if they're experiencing a disappointment now, or maybe they're thinking about going to school or doing a business? Disappointments will happen. I think that's one of the things that as a believer, sometimes we could be taught that it's always going to be this happiness once we get saved. And I've learned that God will walk with us through those circumstances. He has never left us. He will never leave us. But our perspective in the midst of disappointment and circumstances that catches us off guard is vital. How we perceive that, how we perceive our relationship with God, and who we have around us is vital to us walking through that situation successfully. Is there any words that you have for our audience, men and women alike, that may be coming into 2020 with some disappointments, or they might have some fears about just fulfilling their purpose and their dream?
I don't know what's setting you back. I don't know what's keeping you from even trying to give the first step to reach your goal. You know what it is, but you do not have to let that keep stopping you from reaching that goal, because it only takes one step.
Yeah.
One step in front of the other to get to where you want to get. And even if everything around you seems so negative, everything seems so impossible, let me tell you, it only takes a believer to be there, to get there. you have to keep trusting. You have to keep believing that God will help you through it. Of course, you have to pray and come to God and say, is this your will?
Yeah.
Because that's how I knew.
That's true.
Every time I started school, a
Yes.
different school, that it was God's will. Because,
Right.
like I said, I had no idea when I was answering these questions on these tests, and I knew that if I didn't pass it, it was because God said, no, this is not the way I want you to go.
That's good. Mhm.
But I had this trust that allowed me to believe that it was God moving in me towards what He wanted me to do.
Yeah.
So do not let anybody or anything stop you from doing what you really want. Because at the end, just think about, where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Right.
Is it there where you are?
Mm.
Or is it in a different
good.
position?
Yeah.
So what do you need to do? You need to start moving.
Yeah, that's awesome. You can't sit still. That's the enemy of progress.
Yes.
Sitting still. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining our show. I'm happy that 2020 we're starting off with encouragement, but also being realistic.
Exactly.
That not everything turns out the way we expect it to, but it doesn't mean that it won't be finished. You
Right.
just can't give up. You can't give up hope. And your relationship with God was vital
Exactly.
to you moving forward and continuing on.
Yes.
And that is my story. That is what I believe too. We have to connect with God and understand that He's not done with us yet. There's a greater purpose for each of us. And we just have to keep moving, stay focused. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited for all of the different friends that we're going to have on the show this year. But please be encouraged by what Jackie shared, her story. We don't know where you are in the midst of your purpose and trying to figure that out. But just know, if you don't even know that you have a purpose.
Exactly.
Know that God has something great for you to do. And the first thing is to start seeking His face and asking Him to stir it up, because it's there. It's inside of you. And the second part of it is don't give up. Don't give up. Maybe you need to make some adjustments on how you are approaching that dream or that vision, but don't give up. God is with you, and He will walk through every circumstance in your life.
Amen.
Y'all have a good day, and arise and be fit in 2020. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for our first New Year's show of Arise and Be Fit. I'm so excited that you were able to meet my best friend Jackie as we discussed, what do you do in the midst of disappointment? We all know that sometimes the doors that we are knocking on may not be open in the way that we expect them to. Here are a few keys that Jackie and I discuss in this episode of Arise and Be Fit in the midst of disappointment. Number 1, remember that God is a finisher. Whatever He started in your life, He will finish. Number 2, remember that you are created for more. There is so much more inside of you and me that God wants us to discover. Number 3, never give up. I will say it again, ladies and gentlemen, never give up. Yes, that's right. Never give up. Remember, no matter how difficult it may be, you have to keep moving forward to ensure that you see your dreams fulfilled. Don't stop. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Arise and Be Fit.